You might not remember her face, you might not remember her name, Robin DiAngelo, but chances are you remember the book that was the architect of the terror that was wrought against white people during the summer of love in 2020. White Fragility. This little manual that was weaponized by all of those woke professors, all of those intersectional talking heads as the reason behind why white people are so scared to talk about race with mentally handicapped liberals. So many people at the time seen it for the grift that it absolutely was, but this idiotic tome, alongside the works of Ibram X. Kendi and so many other race hustlers, oh yeah, Michael Eric Dyson, yeah, that one too, a hack he was and still is, made that group very rich, made them a lot of money. We're just simply saying that white people are bad for the simple virtue of them, well, being white. What's hilarious, and now that we can put some time between all of that nonsense and today, is, well, we can take a look back at the people behind these works and realize what exact scumbags they really are, because you have White Fragility author Robin DiAngelo accused of plagiarizing minority scholars in PhD thesis. Oh yeah, she cares so much about black people, mostly because, well, what she can steal from them. How ironic. Robin DiAngelo, the author and anti-racism consultant. Whenever you see somebody being a consultant, all I can see is a money launderer. Okay, let's be completely honest, because you see consultants all the time right now in games industry, and what do? Kill a project stone dead before release. Shout out Sweet Baby Inc., who I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't have some sort of connection with Kendi, Dyson, or DiAngelo. But she rose to fame and made a fortune scolding white people for their inherent bigotry. And oh my, what were some of the excerpts that are in there? She was just self-reporting her own bigotry, saying that whenever there was a black person, I'm pretty sure this was in there, whenever a black person would walk by, she would clutch her purse, and she really had to come to terms with her own internalized racism that all white people inherently have. It's like, huh, okay. But she's been accused of ripping off 2 Asian American scholars in her 2004 doctoral thesis. Color me, pun not really intended, surprised. A complaint filed at the University of Washington and obtained by the Washington Free Beacon outlines 20 examples of alleged plagiarism in White Fragility author's dissertation, Whiteness in Racial Dialogue, a Discourse Analysis. Unbelievable. Like, she can't even be a unique little racist. Among the examples cited are 2 paragraphs reproduced almost entirely from Northeastern University's Thomas Nakayama, who is Asian American, and co-author Robert Krizek, in which DiAngelo fails to provide adequate attribution. Another example of the complaint shows DiAngelo allegedly playing fast and loose with a paragraph written by Asian American professor Stacy Lee at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. In it, rather than clearly delineating that Lee has summarized the work of scholar David Theo Goldberg, oh, there it is, the information was presented in such a way to appear as though DiAngelo herself was providing the summary herself. Yeah, that's stealing, 100%. National Association of Scholars President Peter Wood told the Beacon that such a move in academic circles is tantamount to forgery. Yeah, no, it's plagiarism. You don't need another term to describe it. It is never appropriate to use a secondary source without acknowledging it, and even worse, to present it as one's own words. And especially when you're talking about such a serious topic like racism, that's plagiarism. On her own website accountability statement, DiAngelo goes into great detail about how she claims to hold herself accountable in a variety of different contexts when it comes to her business and personal dealings with non-whites. Wow, imagine that, man. Imagine having different business practices depending on the color of people's skin. I'm sure that there are certain online groups that are like that. It's just not really people that should probably run in the same circles as. I'm just saying. Always cite and give credit to work of BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, people who have informed your thinking. Right, she writes in the section explicitly about how to properly provide academic citation. I mean, I take her literary tips about as seriously as I would her humanistic tips. When you phrase when you use a phrase or idea you got from a BIPOC person, you gotta give them a little gold star. You gotta give them another pat on the head and reassurance that the good white man acknowledges your brilliance. What a racist. As the Beacon points out, DiAngelo's status as a doctor and her PhD in multicultural education, what a worthless PhD, have been key to promoting her book, her high-dollar speaking engagements, and her therapeutic seminars. Right, where she just says how much of a racist she is and how everybody else in the room must also feel that way. Ergo, the only reason they can excise said feelings is by paying to hear her lectures. It's a good racket, hell of a good grift. It's just the wheels have kind of fallen off that bus in recent years, where attendees pay up to $40,000 a head to hear all about how racist they are. He is often formally referred to as either Dr. Robin DiAngelo or Robin DiAngelo PhD. Oh, just like the current First Lady, she pretends to be a doctor as well. In marketing materials, including the header of her own website, where she claims to have coined the term White Fragility in a 2011 academic article. I just wonder who actually coined the term back in 2007 when we figured that out. The allegations against DiAngelo follow a rash of recent similar accusations raised in the highest levels of American academia. You don't say. Yes, former Harvard president Claudine Gay faced dozens of plagiarism accusations before resigning in disgrace in January. Wow, that was January of this year. I could have thought that was so much earlier, right? But yeah, our Columbia University counterpart, Nimat Minouche Shafiq, sure, who also resigned earlier this month, following a spat of anti-Israel protests on her campus, came under fire for allegedly screwing a former underling out of credit in a 1994 research paper. Yeah, this is the problem, man, okay? A lot of these people, quote unquote, get exposed for not, kowtowing to a certain country in the Middle East. When people just do a cursory amount of digging, they realize that A, they're really not qualified for these jobs, mostly because they stole every piece of merit that they could have possibly used as justification for getting said job. Like Claudine Gay, yeah, she's a hack. She never deserved to be president of Harvard, because she lied about everything. I did multiple videos on her. I don't care that there were protests because a bunch of college students were crying on campus. There was nothing that was happening there outside of just, college kids expressing the freedom of speech, and a bunch of conservatives tattletaling on themselves because they needed to make sure that they wanted to stand beside our greatest ally. But when it came to her, the Gay lying about everything, yeah, it's a bit of a different story. And the same with Shafiq there. Oh, there's a bunch of woke entitled kids at Columbia. More news at 11. But she too stole credit for a research paper 30 years ago. And it took you guys this long to come forward with it now because some idiot's favorite country ends up in a tight spot? Unbelievable. DiAngelo's controversial White Fragility was barely noticed upon publication in 2018, but became a New York Times bestseller in the wake, yes, in 2020. During the time, DiAngelo made regular television appearances, hosted frequent paid speaking gigs, and became the darling of the progressive movement. As popular as the book became, and the national spotlight was squarely fixed on issues of race, it had plenty of critics. Yes, critics. Journalist and author Matt Taibbi called it pseudo-intellectual horse, and linguist, John McWhorter said the book amounted to racist trash in an article for The Atlantic. Yeah, and John McWhorter, he's a black guy, but the Robin DiAngelo is probably just, thinking that he's internalizing his whiteness or internalizing racism or whatever other crap that she'd come up with on the spot. DiAngelo did not respond to the post's request for comment sent through her website contact form. Well, you could send a request for comment to the people that she stole from, and she might take credit for it later. It seems to be her pattern. Asked about the veracity of the complaint, the University of Washington spokeswoman Dana Robinson Sloat told the Post, "We are committed to the integrity of research conducted at the University of Washington. Just not everybody who participates or anything. Don't worry about that. All complaints are carefully reviewed, and I can't wait for her PhD to get revoked." But then at the same time, all the progressives just continue to tout this as being a very important work in furthering of racial conversations, when in actuality it's just a racist tome, and one that has long outlived its usefulness. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.